waving the yellow flag, the red flag.
I have no flags.
I need to buy a set of like red, yellow, and green flags. And as we start the broadcast, when Ish has legitimately hit the fan, I can just pull out my colored flag for that episode so you know what we're headed into. But I would put this on a orange flag today, where it was yellow and then it's going closer and closer into like red alert zone. So welcome everybody to today's episode of Planets and Predictions. I am fifth generation psychic medium Dallisa Hocking. This is my pal, my astrologer, the expert who looks at all the planets and what the heck is going on. And we have a lot to cover today. It's going to get juicy. It might get a little bit spicy, but we're just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
So you are like my man on the street, Scott, because you don't live in downtown Los Angeles where all of it's hitting the fan right now.
Yeah.
But you're relatively close. But before we start diving into everything, have you seen anything in your neighborhood? How's it going? Real-time reporting.
Life is normal here in my sleepy neighborhood. If my lady Gabriella, her mom, texted us over the weekend and was like, asking us about, I hope you're okay, and sorry to see all this stuff that's happening. We're like, what's happening? Like, we don't even, because we don't watch the news. So, we had no idea that anything was going on until her mom, who lives on the East Coast, started telling us about it. So that's how affected we are here, even though, yes, I'm about 20 minutes to an hour away from downtown LA, depending on the traffic, but nothing has changed in my neighborhood at all.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I mean, if you were just assuming that like all of Southern California was what was depicted on the news, you would think that it was all just going wild in Southern California. But it sounds like it's more of an isolated, perhaps, section of downtown Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like when you go on social media too, it feels more heightened. People that I follow, friends, family, acquaintances that live in Los Angeles, they seem to be very enraged or engaged in some way about everything that's going on. So, but yeah, it's yeah.
Let's talk about that, because you and I backstage were just discussing the astrology of the moment and what the heck's happening. And we're going to be talking about what is coming, what's unfolding.
Yes.
But first, if we just kind of start with this moment.
Yes.
You were saying backstage that this is brewing this energy of people forcing their ideas onto other people and creating more of that divisiveness that we have been talking about for so long.
Exactly.
Now we are seeing it manifest in the world and on the news. So what is it in the astrology that is creating that divide?
And that's why none of this is really like, oh my God, what's happening out there? It's like, okay, yeah, like we knew the storm was coming. So nobody should be surprised. We've been talking about it for months, for years, honestly. So, I mean, like we could look at, when you talk about the astrology, it's like, what have we talked about here for years, literally, even before I knew you, I've been saying this, like, Pluto is in a position that it hasn't been in since the American and French revolutions. Neptune is in a position that it hasn't been in since the Civil War, the American Civil War. Uranus is in a position that it hasn't been in since World War II. Chiron is in a position that it hasn't been in since the Vietnam War. So you have these four slow moving planets that are all in this really tense position that they haven't been in since, historical war conditions. So what made anyone think, as I'm saying this for years and years, that we're somehow going to be unscathed here. It's none of it's surprising, and I just feel like this is only the beginning. We said a few weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, we were talking about the Jupiter squaring Saturn happening all month in all month. So Jupiter's in Cancer, which is cardinal water, and Saturn is in Aries, which is cardinal fire. They're squaring off with each other, and that's the planet of expansion, Jupiter, squaring off with the planet of restriction, Saturn. When the planet of expansion squares off with the planet of restriction, when you square off with somebody, it's a fight. So there is tension between expansion and restriction. It feels like we're in a pressure cooker, and I feel like things are going to pop next month. I feel like this is just starting to brew, But you can also look at Jupiter, last week. So Jupiter moved into Cancer on Monday. When planets get to that final degree, usually something intense happens. You can go back to when Mars was at the final degree of Aries back in 2021, January 6th. Does anyone remember J6 2021? Well, guess what? That was the last day that Mars was in Aries. Now we're moving. We just had Jupiter, the god of thunder, in the last degree of Gemini. Now this weekend, we're going to have Mars at the last degree of Leo. So do you think the god of war in the final degree of the Lion is going to be quiet, is going to be silent, is going to be calm and serene and peaceful? Probably not. So there's a lot happening here, Dallisa.
Yeah, no, I mean, you bring up a lot of good points. And for any of our friends and family out there that don't believe in astrology, just forward this video to them. We can get them on the bandwagon with us, because astrology is amazing. And that's why so many astrologers could predict all of these big, intense energies that were coming, because the planets are helping us understand the vibe, the energy, what's shifting, where the priorities may be changing. And we can look at historical data and what transits were happening in these other wars and understand that, wow, if that happened then, I wonder if it's going to happen again.
Exactly.
So here we are, we're experiencing some of the things that our ancestors went through when they were alive with, these older wars, that, we weren't here. We didn't know exactly what was happening. We can read about it, but now I think we're entering into a period of where we are going to be experiencing some of the same things that some of our ancestors went through. I think this is my own opinion, but I think outside of, there have been some really horrifying things that have happened while my visit on planet Earth has occurred so far. But I would say for the most part, if I was going to compare what I've been through with some of what my ancestors have been through, I think I've had like a really amazing life compared to what some of them have been through. And maybe there's this tide turning where we're going to really start to maybe experience some of these things that they went through firsthand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had it easy. At least here, like I'll just speak for myself. It's like we've had it easy, and maybe in the United States we've had it easy comparatively to where people are in other parts of the world, because what other people have experienced in their corner of the world, you could look and say, well, yeah, they've had it really tough, and so something's coming to a head over here. It feels like, or maybe this is just a blip. Who knows? I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I've been waiting for things to get more intense, and it feels like, it keeps inching that way.
I agree. And that's why I was making the joke in the beginning about the orange flag and waving it, because you and I were discussing backstage about Trump's birthday. It's going to be this Saturday.
Mm.
And for those that have not been following that little gem of a news story,
Mm.
they are going to, in Washington, D.C., they're going to have a military parade to celebrate, I think it's the Army's 250th birthday, which is
Mhm.
also Trump's birthday. And they spent a ton of money. And I remember looking at this psychically before, and I was like, if Trump, listens to psychics or listens to astrology, I would say, do not do this military
Mm.
parade.
Mm.
I don't feel like it's a blip in terms of what's brewing right now. I actually think this is like a sneak peek of what is going to get stronger and louder.
I
And so
agree.
it's interesting that you were pointing to July as being an
Yeah.
intense month. And didn't you say, I think it was last week, is it like mid-July that you've got circled on your calendar as that intensity?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, totally. Because, in July is when you're going to have July and August, really, like both those months are going to be, I think they're going to be super intense. And the reason is, you know, the thing that keeps coming back to me, Dallisa, is COVID. And I'm not saying that to mean that like we're going to be in a worldwide, shutdown and that sort of stuff because of a virus. But, like going into 2020, I just kept looking at what was happening in January to March. And I was just like, something's going to happen in January to March that's going to be like a power grab, because there were, 4 or 5 planets transiting through Capricorn, which is the sign that represents the authority. So I was like, there's going to be some sort of power grab or shift of power that's occurring in the early first quarter of 2020. And that's exactly what happened through the COVID. Now this time around, what is making me feel this way is like this kind of like this anomaly where you have all these planets that are outside, that are the further moving planets, the slower moving planets. You have Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn are all going to be aligning with each other. Uranus and Pluto are in air signs. Uranus is going to be in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius, and then you've got Saturn and Neptune in Aries. And so you've got the air and fire. Air fuels fire, fire raises the air. You've got the planet of revolution, Uranus, in the sign that represents confusion and consciousness. You've got Pluto, the god of death, in the sign that represents the community. You've got Saturn, the god of wealth and time, the planet of authority, in the sign of war, the sign that's ruled by Mars, Aries. And then you've got Neptune, the god of fresh water and the sea, the planet of illusion, deception, intuition, also in Aries. And so what does that mean? What's going to happen? I mean, I don't really know, but I think there's going to be some sort of dramatic shifting of our conscious. We're going to be looking at ourselves differently. There's going to be a shift in technology, a shift in society, and it's going to be an awakening. And does that mean because there are conflicts going on? I mean, potentially yes, because of the Aries frequency of Saturn and Neptune. So it's creating, I think, some extreme insecurities in people. Saturn, the planet of restriction, Neptune, the planet of illusion, Aries, the sign of the self. We are losing faith in ourselves. We are needing to take responsibility for ourselves, but we may be not holding ourselves accountable. We may not be reimagining the dream of who we are, what we're possible of. And because we've lost faith in who we are, we might feel like a victim. And if you feel like a victim, then you want to lash out at somebody for the reason why your life isn't turned out the way that you want it to be.
Yeah, it gives me the chills when you talk about it. I do think that victim energy is, and it has been wild for the last few years, especially in some of these themes around the world and in the United States. And And I think that more of that is coming out. And as I'm saying that, I'm hearing in my ear, through clairaudience, what you had said. This was probably maybe a couple months ago at this
Mm-hmm.
point. You were talking about, and those of you that follow our show and watch this regularly, you may remember this. Scott had said it's like pushing, I'm going to paraphrase, pushing your own dumpster of all of your
Mm.
own
Yeah.
crap out
Yeah.
into the road and setting it on fire. And
Yep.
that is literally what is happening.
Yes. Yeah. I said it a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago to you. I've been saying it for years. I've been saying, like, this is why we have to, like, Neptune in Pisces was about going within and really facing your psychological baggage, the guilt, the shame, the regret, the blame, so that you can integrate those thought patterns and memories with understanding, forgiveness, and love for yourself. If you don't do that work, when Neptune transits into Aries, as it has now, you are going to collectively, everybody is collectively pushing their dumpsters of psychological baggage into the street and setting it on fire. And that's what's happening in downtown LA, is people lighting things on fire. It's their anger, their rage, and they don't know how to hone it in an effective way that is maybe more supportive of a solution. Instead, they just want to, create havoc and chaos. So, there was the Instagram video from it was like maybe a couple months ago. This was in LA also. There was a guy at a car dealership who apparently didn't get the quote that he wanted on his car. So instead of driving away, he drove his car through the dealership, crashed through the doors, broke windows, injured half a dozen people, and was arrested because of it, because he couldn't handle the outcome that he received from the salesperson. So now he has to pay those consequences. That's everybody right now. If you're not taking responsibility for yourself, then and you're trying to enact retribution on somebody because you don't have the situation that you want in your life, then ultimately there's going to be consequences to pay.
Yeah, yeah. You bring up a couple of things I want to circle back to. We had in the comments a little bit ago somebody asking, well, what can we do? How can we be a part of the solution? I've heard you answer this type of question before.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you and I agree on this point that it all starts within. And it goes
Yes.
alongside that dumpster fire we were just talking
Yep.
about, that if you're not doing that inner healing, then how can you be an effective solution in the world,
Yes.
or one that can be sustainable or long lasting? It all starts with us, because whatever energy we embody, that is what is rippling out into the world. So instead, maybe sit and ask ourselves, what is it that I can do today to, and you can insert whatever core values or things that you find important, insert that in the blanks. Like, how can I bring more kindness to the world today? How could I walk through the world with more integrity today? How can I be more compassionate? And that will affect everyone you come in contact with, whether it's over the phone or email or in person. Your energy does matter, and the ripple you create does affect the world around you.
Mm-hmm. I've got a clear. I love that, Dallisa. That's exactly it. Exactly right. I've got a clear example of how to do that, because it's something that I just did today. Can I share that?
Yes.
So, tonight is the full moon in Sagittarius. So that's not really softening the vibe right now when you have the full moon in the sign, the mutable fire sign. Like when I think of this fire energy, it's like, Aries is the spark that lights the fire. Leo is the energy that just sustains the fire, and it's like you got a nice warm fire burning campfire here. Sagittarius is when the fire leaves the campsite and burns down the forest. So the full moon in Sagittarius is happening right now. We're in that phase, and so of course things are going to be really fiery and wild out there. Well, I was feeling that myself today, this morning. For some reason, I was like, I thought of a friend, somebody who is like a really, really close, dear friend of mine who I've grown estranged from. And it's kind of muddled, like the like how did we get to this point? It's like it's not clear. There was no definitive, like, screw you, I don't want to be your friend anymore. It was just like we drifted, but there were tense feelings in the drifting.
Mm.
And I can point to a couple specific examples where I felt like I wasn't we were in the same frequency, and then it averted, and I could no longer be in the frequency as him, or maybe him with me, and we went different directions. And I've hadn't seen him for probably 3 years, and then I've seen him 3 times in the last 6 months, let's say, 6 or 7 months. They've been in social gatherings, mutual people around. Didn't really have a chance to talk to him one on one to maybe clear the air. And I was just feeling today, because I for some reason I looked and I was like, oh my God, he's not following me on Instagram anymore. And so I just felt this like sickness in like the pit, in my solar plexus, like what did I do? What did I do to, like, why? And so, I start to get angry, and I want to like throw F bombs his way and that sort of stuff. And then I flip and I'm like, maybe I hurt him. I'm so sorry that I hurt him. Maybe I should reach out to him and apologize. But then I started thinking about it more, and I'm like, I have nothing to apologize for. Like, I put these two instances where I felt a shift, where I felt like this was a fracture on our relationship. I was like, if that was with another friend, this would not be the outcome. This was the outcome because it was with him. And this person has a history of estranging himself from close friends, because he doesn't know how to deal with conflict. And he's estranged from his biological father and two of his brothers. And so, of course, that's the pattern that he perpetuates in his life now as an adult. And what's interesting is, in the last 5 years that I have been estranged from him, my life has just like expanded in the most amazing way. So I think that the way that we can all be of benefit to this situation is to do this work, to really think about, like, who are the people in your life that make you angry? Who are the people that you've been close to that have hurt you? It's about finding forgiveness within yourself, and forgiveness within the dynamics of those relationships. Even if you're estranged from that person, like, you can forgive them from afar, but most importantly, you're forgiving yourself. Because I don't believe that any of the people that are out there creating havoc are living a peaceful life. Because if they were, they wouldn't be acting violently, whether it's violent to people or property. And that goes for, the people that are out there, if they're taking children from families and that sort of stuff, it's the same frequency. So, this is about disengaging from that. What you're seeing on TV and out in the world is the chaos. If you want to be a part of that, go be a part of that. But at the same time, really think about why you're being a part of that. Because the reason why you might be wanting to be a part of that is because there's something in yourself that is suffering, that is not peaceful, that is experiencing a lot of pain and needs to be healed. And that's really the work that needs to be done. It's like, heal your family, heal your friendships, heal your relationship with yourself, and you will heal the world.
I felt that. I'm sure a lot of people felt that. Thank you for sharing that example. It's such a good one. I think we've all been through that kind of situation at some point with a friend or a family member. And, I've been through it myself, where I've realized, both with a friend and with a family member, where they've like unfollowed me. And I went down a very similar path of like, what the heck, but I reached that same just place within myself of like, no, it's okay. it's okay. I don't need to try to fix this. I don't need to try to explain anything or tell them I'm okay or any of that stuff. It's like I can handle that all within myself. So it's a great example. Going back to another question, shifting gears just a little bit in the chat. Bree was asking about if there's any concerns this weekend for protests. And you'd mentioned like COVID earlier, and martial law was what dropped in when you said that. And I do think there's a real potential in this energy to, forgive the saying, but like grow like wildfire, meaning what is downtown LA right now feels to me energetically as a psychic that it's going to be popping up in other cities, other locations. I think this weekend is, and I have chills as I say this, which is confirmation that right now as the energy is projecting out, that there will be protests in more places, and that has the potential to really grow and become extreme. And just like you said, Scott, like if they feel called to go and be a part of a protest, like absolutely go do it. But energetically, I don't like how intense it does feel. And so if it were one of my family members or one of my close friends coming to me off to the side privately asking,
don't
like,
go.
I would say, don't
go.
touch it.
Don't get
go.
near there.
No.
Nope.
I wouldn't.
If you're a friend or family member and you're asking me, I'm going to say, stay home. Do not get involved. Do not engage. Focus on yourself and focus on, if you're feeling rage about what's going on your TV screen, then you need to turn that focus within yourself and understand where the rage is within yourself. It's like, there's a comment earlier from Nancy Garcia Henderson. There's freedom in forgiveness. And I felt that, like, I unfollowed him and I was like, I'm free, So, but I couldn't get to that point unless I actually looked within myself, did some analytical work within myself about why am I clinging to this? I mean, I went back to the beginning of our relationship and really understood where I was at that point and how it evolved over time through exploring that history, which is a big part of Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer is, can you be honest about your past? Jupiter is the planet of honesty. Can you take an honest, expanded look at your past? And that's what I had to do with this friend. And I had to think about why I was engaged with him, why I connected with him. What was the origin of that? And it goes back to my childhood abuse. So of course, as being abused as a child, I would choose friendships that also felt abusive to me, that also felt out of balance, because that's what love felt like, was something where it was out of balance and I was subjugated. So you've got to really spend some time, anyone who, if they were asking me, a friend or loved one, I would say, stay home and reflect on your life. Reflect on your past. Reflect on where this rage is stemming from and find love. Show yourself love in those places. The anger needs love.
Anger needs love. That, yes. And I think you're right. I think this full moon in Sagittarius tonight is giving us a really beautiful opportunity to not point the fingers outward, but look at that inner fire and what kind of dumpster we have right now.
And that's so great that you said that, because Sagittarius is all about pointing the finger. Sagittarius is about, yes, it's the arrow, right? So it's like, let me tell you my opinion. That's Sagittarius. This is what we need to release. And so, you want to release that so you can be in the Gemini frequency, which is, what can I learn? What can I learn here? What can I learn about this? What can I learn about myself? What can I learn about my past? What can I learn about my psyche and how my mind works? Let's not presume that I have all the answers. I don't. I'm not an omnipotent God. I'm a man. So my scope is limited.
It's like I always think of the Gemini energy of being the investigative reporter. And so why not imagine that we are all an investigative reporter, and instead of asking someone else the question on the streets of LA or wherever things are popping off, it's like, okay, I'm going to turn the microphone this way and ask the question and answer it myself. That could be even a fun exercise to
do. Absolutely. But it also is helpful to ask other people questions, to learn about, well, what is going on with you? Like if someone asks me, should I go to the protests? Well, what is your reason for wanting to go? Well, I don't like these injustices. Okay, well, what is it about the injustices? Or what is it about ICE or Donald Trump or the United States or the border patrol, like all of it? Like, what don't you like about it? Like, let's have a conversation, because people get violent when they don't feel heard. So the more that we can ask questions, and the more we allow those around us to speak and share their thoughts and perspectives, the more their anxiety and anger will be quelled, because they will feel loved.
And sometimes they don't have the answer, and that's okay.
And that's
I
okay.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
just noticed through the years, because I'm Sagittarius Sun, Gemini rising, so I'm all about this energy, um, that I love asking questions.
Yes.
I have over the years, though, really tried to release the expectation that the question will be answered.
Exactly.
It's like I want to plant the question. If it needs to be a little seedling and be there for a while, and maybe it grows and sprouts an answer one day, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. But I think sometimes just asking a question, that it can create some spaciousness between you and that other person. And
Hmm.
it's like almost, blowing up a big balloon and just having that air there where you can just glide a little bit more easily between your energy and their energy just by asking, you know, simple open-ended questions.
Sometimes those questions that they don't have an answer to right away are the best ones,
Yeah.
because it really helps people think and
Yeah.
see things from a different perspective.
Hmm. I absolutely agree. Somebody had asked earlier if the whole year was going to be like this, and that's why you and I talk every week, so that we can discuss all of these different energies that are presenting and what we're seeing. But right
Mhm.
now, I think we are more in an energetic firestorm right now, and so I would say let's get real focused on what's happening right now and try to utilize some of the things we've discussed today to get through this with ease and grace.
Mhm.
Ellen had shared that there are scientific studies that confirm that our personal energy directly impacts those around us on a regular basis. So resolving our own ish is the best place to start. It kind of reminds me of heart math, right? Heart
Mm.
Math Institute, they've studied the resonance, the vibration of your heart, and how
Mhm.
anyone that you're around, that your hearts are actually communicating with each other. And so the energy that we hold is really important.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You feel it. And even like today when I saw that my old friend had unfollowed me on Instagram, I felt it here, because our hearts were once connected. So, yeah, exactly. Open
You got
yourself up.
yeah, you got to feel it to heal it.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I want to go into a trifecta of energies, if you want to call it that.
Yes. Let's
So
look.
we,
We're going to look at the players here, the players on the chessboard.
yes. And so if anyone's been living in a news-free zone the last few days, Trump ordered in National Guard. I believe it was about 2,000 National Guard
Uh-huh.
and Marines to go to everything that's happening in downtown LA. Well, that created a lot of anger
Mhm.
at the elected officials in California, being Gavin Newsom, the governor, Karen Bass, the mayor of LA. They have now filed a lawsuit based on what I could find for unlawfully bypassing the California governor by bringing in the Marines and the National Guard. And so, since you are just brilliant at astrology and looking at charts, I said, is there anything weird going on with Trump's chart or Newsom's or Karen Bass? Like, does astrology tell us that maybe they don't get along? So, is there anything you see in their chart?
Oh my God. Yes. And, it just like looking at this too and just thinking about how these people are connected, it's like, does anyone forget that Gavin Newsom's ex-wife is Donald Trump's daughter-in-law? I
I
mean,
forgot.
like just remember how connected these people are. Like they travel in the same circles, which makes me just feel like this is all a show. And it's still life or death. Like like the people that are involved here on the streets, like they're risking their lives, but these players like Trump and Newsom and probably even Karen Bass, I'm sure Karen Bass, they're a part of this collective, let's say, that they're putting on this show. It's a theater, and there are real consequences to this theater. Now, when you look at the astrology, literally today, Mars, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, conflict, is at 26 degrees in Leo. When Donald Trump was born, Mars was at 26 degrees in Leo, which squares Algol, the fixed star, at 26 degrees in Taurus, which is the star of Perseus holding the head of Medusa, the demon star. And so this is Hirohito, the emperor of Japan, was born with Mars at 26 degrees in Leo. So for people that are born with Mars at 26 degrees in Leo, they're here to bring upheaval to Earth. For some people, that upheaval feels like, finally, yes. To other people, the upheaval is like, no, don't do this. But that's who Donald Trump is. And so, of course, on the day of his Martian return, things are erupting in the United States under his rule, in the country or in the state where Gavin Newsom is the leader. I shouldn't say leader, governor, two different things. Gavin Newsom was born with the sun at 16 degrees in Libra. Donald Trump was born with Jupiter at 17 degrees in Libra. Oh. Karen Bass was born with the part of fortune at 16 degrees in Libra. So this is why I just feel like they're all vibing off each other here. Mm-hmm. They're all connecting to each other. Donald Trump is expanding Gavin Newsom's identity. I mean, he's literally turning Gavin Newsom into a hero. Every great hero needs a great villain. So if you're on the left, the villain is Donald Trump. So who can be the hero for the left? Gavin Newsom, our next president. And then who's the villain on the right? Gavin Newsom's the villain. The guy who was telling everyone to stay in their house while he was out at the French Laundry having dinner. That guy is now, he's the villain for the right, and Donald Trump's the hero. So we're all watching a show. It's a theater. For some people, Donald Trump is the antagonist and Gavin Newsom is the protagonist. For other people, Gavin Newsom's the antagonist and Donald Trump is the protagonist. Now there's also, this is the full moon in Sagittarius. When Donald Trump was born, the moon was at 21 degrees in Sagittarius. Gavin Newsom was born with Mars at 20 degrees in Sagittarius. Donald Trump was born with the South Node at 20 degrees in Sagittarius, the North Node at 20 degrees in Gemini, directly opposite the South Node, and the Sun at 22 degrees in Gemini, directly opposite the Moon and South Node, and directly opposite Gavin Newsom's Mars. Where's the full moon in Sagittarius tonight? 20 degrees in Sagittarius. So how is the full moon happening at the exact same degree as Donald Trump's North and South Node axis, Gavin Newsom's Mars, 2 degrees away from Donald Trump's Sun, and 1 degree away from Donald Trump's Moon? And let's not leave out Karen Bass. Karen Bass was born with Pluto, the god of death. Or no, not Karen Bass. Gavin Newsom was born with Pluto, the god of death, at 21 degrees in Virgo. So there's a lot of tension happening with these two individuals. With Karen Bass, this aligns with her moon at 19 degrees in Leo. It aligns with, oh my God, yeah. And so, I mean, my head is just spinning right now. I'm sorry, Dallisa.
Yeah, they're
It's
just like
just
going like this.
because Karen Bass was also, this is aligning with her Neptune. It's aligning with her Pluto, the full moon. Karen Bass, like, and they're all reflecting each other. Like, Karen Bass is a Libra sun. Gavin Newsom's a Libra sun. Karen Bass is a Leo moon and rising. Donald Trump is a Leo rising. Karen Bass was born with the rising sign at 26 degrees in Leo. Where's Donald Trump's Mars? Where's Mars right now? 26 degrees in Leo. So, I mean, I don't know. I could step out on a ledge here and just say, like, could it be like, is this the beginning of a civil war, just to like go way out there, where it's like Karen Bass like decides to declare war on the National Guard with the LAPD? And, it's like, don't let these National Guards attack our people of this city. So then you have the LAPD standing off with the National Guard. I mean, I could see it happening.
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
saying it's going to happen, but I could see it happening. And it's all happening during this full moon with Mars at this key point. So
I think by the time we get back and do this show again next Tuesday, and I'll be in a new location, that we're going to have a lot to talk about again next Tuesday. So, Edward put in the comments, apparently I've never heard of this, there are 1,500 Not My King protests worldwide this weekend, over 3 million expected. I don't know about this. I haven't heard about this. If anybody else has, let us know in the comments. But if that is true, and there are 3 million people that are going to show up to protest, and I would think that would be around the world. I mean, if that's 3 million in the US, like, oh my God, martial law, the alarm's going to be going off and everyone's going to be told to stay at home. So, nothing surprises me of what could occur in these coming days. And I think you're absolutely right. I would not be out there, out and about, just getting into these hot spots.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, just check your six, keep looking over your shoulder and be aware of what's going on around you, and, stay safe. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're happening. The thing is like, I feel like the left is really good at pinpointing areas that they feel like can create inspiration, let's say, and really energize their base to get out. And Donald Trump just in and of itself is that, but what's going on with ICE is really touching some nerves on a lot of people. But at the same time, and this is why I feel like if there are 3 million people that protest, and this thing is kind of like a sustainable thing, I think you're going to see an equal and more powerful backlash to those protests. Because like what you see in Los Angeles with people flying Mexican flags and burning American flags, that's going to upset a lot of people. If you think that people were upset because Colin Kaepernick wouldn't stand for the national anthem, what do you think those same people are going to feel about people in their country waving another country's flag and burning their flag? And it seems really petty because it's a flag. It's just some cloth. But the way that this country is hardwired to think about flags, it's you're asking for a fight. And so this could be the onset of a civil war.
I agree. And my eye just started twitching as you were talking about the Civil War there at the end. So I'm taking that as a sign, because it's on the right side where a lot of my downloads come through. Trina's saying, I wish the whole world would listen to this. Share it with people. I
Yeah,
agree.
exactly.
There's and not, yeah, and not for
exactly.
our benefit, but really for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of people getting out of their own way and pulling their dumpster back off the street.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the more people that can
Exactly.
hear what we discussed today, I think the better. It just gives us all something to think about. We've got some rapid fire. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Clara is saying Dallisa and Scott predicted this chaos last November.
Yes. Yes. Trying to tell people, oh, you're just, okay. Yeah. Mercury and Gatorade again. It's just, you get those, it's okay. Whatever. Fine. Go live your life. If you don't want to listen to me, you think I'm crazy, fine. Good for you.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I agree. And you and I talk so much about astrology predictions, all this, and we have been for a while now, that I don't remember most of the time, like when I say something or like, because we just go off the cuff on these shows and talk about it. And it's like, okay. And then the show wraps and then it's like, oh, we're going to do it again next week. Right. So I don't know if it's November or when it is that, it's come in. There was a download again this morning. This is something Spirit had said, God, I feel like this started about 5 years ago, maybe 6. I was hearing Spirit say that the road is going to split. And it was before COVID and all that, but it was a message, and I have chills as I say this, where Spirit's like, you need to choose. Are you a prisoner of your life or are you a pioneer of your life? And it's going to split so far that you may not be able to as easily move into that other frequency as this opening is now. And that was like 5-6 years ago. And this morning, as I was waking up, I was hearing that again. And so I think it goes perfectly with what we've been talking about today and asking yourself, am I a pioneer of my own life and doing that inner work, going within and asking the good questions of myself and others, or am I going to be in that victim prisoner mentality? And you could apply that energy to all kinds of situations that are going on in the world.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And I think part of that is like, it just makes me think of Sodom and Gomorrah. Are you going to turn back? You're going to be sucked back there. Look forward, move forward. If you're going to get caught in the chaos, then that's where you're going to be. So Vicky says, wait, protests and activism, peaceful and major, have changed the world in history. Yes, definitely. The thing is what changes the world though is you, the individual. We can look, I don't look at any protest or activism as what really changes the world. What changes the world is individuals. And as individuals, collectively, we can come together to change the world. But this, to me, like I can literally see on both sides how both sides. I talk to someone on the left and I'm like, yeah, I feel you. I see things from your perspective. But then I talk to somebody on the right and I see things from their perspective too. So there's just so much rage and anger in each person that these two sides don't want to meet in the middle. They want to kill each other. And so I think there's going to be change because of that. I don't really think it's going to be a peaceful experience. I think the more people that draw into this chaotic energy is, the more volatile the outcome's going to be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be not just, it's been like this every day, but I joke because the day before, usually Mondays, I'll send you a text and be like, here are the headlines I'm seeing. And I think yesterday I was joking around like, oh, there's nothing happening right now. It's going to be a slow, show. And it's, I'm being sarcastic, of course. It's my love language is sarcasm. But I think that just the headlines over the coming week are going to blow our minds. And so do your grounding practices, do your breath work, do your meditation, your journaling, whatever it is that helps to fill up your own cup. as we've been sitting here, there was a breaking news story that came over my phone. Sounds like Southern Baptists are looking to ban gay marriage.
Mm.
So I
See,
may have butchered. Yeah.
this is the this is the reaction, So like if people that are going to go out and protest and be more extreme on the left, you're going to get more people being extreme on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that said that they were okay with gay marriage and that sort of stuff is going to roll back, which is then going to incite the left even more, and so on and so forth. And it's just going to go back and forth. People are going to be pulling off contributions that they were offering to the table, and it's going to start getting aggressive, and people are going to start hurting each other physically. And so, well, I mean, so Ellen says, I disagree, Scott. Both sides do not want to kill each other. I hope you're right, Ellen. I hope you're right, but I don't see too many sides on either side really like contributing to and willing to see things from the other side. Like what I see is things getting more and more intense. I don't see things dissipating. See things getting more intense. And so what's at the root of that intensity? A desire for peace? I don't think there's a desire for peace. I think if there was a desire for peace, then people would be talking about peace. They would be having conversations on both sides, but they're not. It's the same in the Middle East. It just like there's a lot of tension there, and it continues to elevate. It feels, I don't think that things are going to get more peaceful. I don't know. That's just my sense. I hope I'm wrong, Ellen. I really do. But if both sides do not want to kill each other, then they won't. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't see peace in the short term either. I think it's going to amp up a lot more than where it's at right now. And I'm wondering if any of this, and I know you have to get going in a couple of minutes, but we have Uranus, final degrees of Taurus, going to hit Gemini. I just think of Gemini, as we were talking about earlier, that energy of curiosity and asking really good questions. But we also know that Uranus is sudden, unexpected, right? That volatility of that energy. But we know that Uranus is going into Gemini July 7th. Mm-hmm. Do you think, because I guess my question at the heart of that is Uranus going into Gemini July 7th, could that bring about an opportunity for more conversations? Or do you think that it could bring about more extremism of not feeling heard and needing to try to get it out there more?
I think it could be both. It all depends on how we're working with the energy as individuals. The thing that's difficult about this is like, I'm not in the conversations, I'm not there listening to Gavin Newsom talk to Donald Trump and Karen Bass. I'm not hearing what they're saying to each other. None of us are. So we don't know what's going on. But when you look and see what's happening on the street, that seems to be the repercussions of how these figureheads are communicating with each other. So, we really have no control over that. So when Uranus transits into Gemini, the way that we should all be working with that frequency is to think differently, and think differently through asking questions. When, I don't know, it's like joining a protest doesn't feel like think differently. It feels like going with the herd. Thinking differently is like, let's have a different conversation about this. Let's find a different way. If we're doing a protest, if we're marching in the street, what's different about that? What's unique about that? Do I really agree with all these people? What is the perspective here? Like a really strong group is one where you have a bunch of different people with unique ideas that are coming together for a collective cause. So what would be unique is if really was a peaceful protest where it was people on both sides coming together, but it's not. It's only one side protesting against another side. That's a herd.
Fire, going back to the element of fire, that it just feels like it's going to unfortunately escalate from here. But that's why we come on here and talk about it. And,
yes.
we have a lot of people going back and forth in the comments, and that's okay too. And, but hopefully, I think if I were to get like one big thing from today is that my trash in my dumpster is my trash. And am I going to light it on fire and make a big show of the fire that I've created? Or am I going to maybe pull each piece of trash out of the dumpster and say, why do I still have this? What is this? Can I let this go now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Do the inner work. Continue to do that inner work and channel that inner rage to reflecting on where this rage stems from. All that's going on in the world is only watering the seed that's already within you. The seed of rage that's already there. It was planted long ago when you were a child, before you were born, when you were in utero. It's part of your bloodline. This is a part of the ancestral healing work that is meant to come with Jupiter and Cancer.
Perfectly divinely timed with that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, because everything I feel, whatever emotion it is, I know that it's mine. And I am only feeling it because it's mine.
Yes.
And so it's my responsibility to heal that.
That's right.
Yeah. That's
right.
Let us know where to find you at on social and your website and sessions and classes, and tell everybody in case they have been under a rock and don't know who you are.
Theweeklytransit.com is my website, and that's the name of my podcast, The Weekly Transit. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to have my 300th episode. I'm not doing anything special. It's just another episode, but it's just kind of cool that I've got 300 episodes coming up here. So I talk about the planets and what's going on each week, and try to give you a perspective for your own personal experience. I don't really talk about what's going on in the world and politics and that sort of stuff. I try not to get down that rabbit hole. That's why I love coming on here with Dallisa, because I can do that here with you. And then I have guests on the show as well, and we reflect upon their astrological code, hear their life story. And, that's an opportunity to not only hear an interesting story about a unique individual, but to also learn a little bit about astrology and seeing how they are reflected through their astrological code.
And I have been on your show and talked about everything, and
yes.
It was a lot of fun.
You shared your story, and people loved it. You're amazing, Dallisa.
Oh, you are too, Scott. Be safe in LA. I know you will be divinely protected, and
yes, always
have fun in your class that you're going to go teach. Yes. And everybody check out Scott, theweeklytransit.com, and on socials at The Weekly Transit. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome, Dallisa. See you next week. Okay. Yeah. Bye.
See ya. Bye. Oh, my buddy. Oh, I guess I better move this jar off my face. Yeah, he's going to go teach an astrology class. If you wanted to learn astrology, he's such a great person to learn it from. So theweeklytransit.com. All right, so I failed to mention this at the top of the show, but this jar here on the screen is if you are tuning in live and you've dropped a comment in the live chat, you have a bauble in the jar. Here in a minute, I will be pulling out the winner for today's episode, and you will receive a personalized 12-month tarot report. I'll shuffle my cards and see what energy is coming up for you in the next 12 months, and I'll email you over a report. So we're going to do that in just a minute. I wanted to briefly go over the headlines that I had pieced together for today, since it's a part of the weekly show. And I'm not going to go into these in depth, but just quickly glide through these, and just echoing what Scott and I have talked about today with the energy and the volatility. So if you didn't hear, there were 2 people shot and killed near the Bellagio fountain, if you are familiar with the Las Vegas Strip. And apparently it was a feud that had started online social media. So, it's not just anger in person. It's anger over the phone, over email, over text, over social media. So please know that even if you're not going to a protest this weekend, that this anger and rage is showing up in different forms as well. So be careful out there. Next up, we already have talked about this at length today, but you can read about it online, about the National Guard. You can read about the Marines being sent into Los Angeles. We have also a headline from the Washington Post about Trump accounts, which is a bank account. I think that the dollar amount being floated around is that when a new baby is born in America, they would get $1,000 put into a Trump account, some kind of account when they're born. We've talked about it before, especially when I get questions in the Sacred Signals community, about the future of humanity. And I do think that depopulation, birth rate, I do think is a big issue that I'm seeing energetically. So I think this is part of an initiative to encourage people to have more children. Okay, RFK Jr. Let go of the CDC Vaccine Advisory Committee. All of them, they're gone. So looks like there's going to be major changes happening with the Vaccine Advisory Committee under RFK. So we can expect more headlines around vaccines, what's being done, what's being advised from a health perspective in the United States. So we'll keep our eyes open for that. There was a plane crash yesterday off of the coast near San Diego. We've talked about a lot of plane crashes this year, and so there was another one. And unfortunately, it took the lives of all 6 people on board, according to the last report. So prayers to everybody touched by that plane crash. There is a new travel ban that has gone into effect. And last report, 12 countries are impacted by the travel ban into the United States. In the middle of that image there, you can see just a representation of some of these 12 countries. So you can always check online to get a full list of travel bans, but it would not surprise me if there are more or expanded travel bans that are going to happen. I think it's going to play into the energy and what happens over the next several days. And as Scott has pointed to, even into July and August. So we're going to keep a watchful eye on what is transpiring over these next few months. And of course, we'll be sharing our predictions and insights with you as well. Special shout out to everybody in my Sacred Signals community. I've seen a lot of your names pop up today. Thank you for your support and your membership. We do talk about all this stuff every week about the predictions and the channelings and all that. We have another headline about Russia and Russia bombarding Ukraine. And, will peace come? When will the two be able to come together and come to some kind of peace agreement? But as it stands right now, the energy does feel intense. And because a lot of the intensity is happening in the United States, with LA, for example, I know a lot of you have mentioned other cities in the comments today of planned protests. Just because a lot of it is planned for the United States, it is a collective energy. So I do think that intensity will also carry over into Russia, Ukraine, and other countries, and how that intensity will grow between countries. So I don't think that's just going to be isolated to protests this weekend. It feels like there's going to be bigger spikes of intensity in the energy. Piracy, this was Al Jazeera. This article talks about how yesterday that there was a Gaza-bound aid vessel, and Israel seized it. You can read more about this online, but it goes into that frequency of war, of humanity, of what we're doing or what we're not doing. But this was a big news story yesterday around the humanitarian crisis that's going on. I have a good article in here, I promise. This one right here. Ed. Who knew that his name was Ed? The runaway pet zebra was captured. So this was a photo of him being captured by a net on June 8th. I think the part about this story that blew me away was that it was someone's pet. Because this zebra was on the loose for a while. And I read the article about this, and it's like this couple bought a zebra. I'm like, what? we can like buy a zebra? Do I need to do like a GoFundMe where I have like a zebra in my yard? Like, how does that work? I'm kidding, right? But because I love animals so much that I would want animals to be happy, and I don't think they'd be happy in my yard. But Ed was somebody's pet that got loose. I think the article said that they bought it like the day before, and they think that Ed got through the fence somehow. You think? You can find video online of Ed like running through all these different fields and stuff. So Ed is a celebrity of the moment. So I wanted to end that on a higher octave. Yeah. And what we focus on expands, right? So pull ourselves up and out of the news stories so that we can gain that bigger perspective. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Ed. Yeah. I hadn't even thought about that. I was just like, Ed, who can buy a zebra? I want to know how much they paid for the zebra. And then who named it Ed and why? Maybe it is Mr. Ed. That would make more sense. Totally. Ed was on a total adventure. Oh my God, Autumn, can you imagine what's going through that poor zebra's head? It's like, damn it. I was doing so good. Like, I shouldn't have turned there, or whatever the story is. But yeah, Ed the zebra has been found. Okay. Oh my gosh, Kelly, that would be hysterical. I saw a video with the song Defying Gravity from Wicked with Ed hanging in the air. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Yeah, Suzanne, we should totally get Ed his own show or movie. Why not, right? Yeah, I think they said in the article that Ed has been since reunited with his girlfriend, another zebra, and that I think the couple let Ed live someplace else. So, yeah, Katie, I didn't think zebras were friendly either. No. So I don't know whose idea that was to go get a zebra, but anyway, Ed has been found. Okay, so let's just do a couple more quick reminders. This class is almost sold out. This is my sounding the alarm sound. I've lost count of how many people have registered for this. I'm guessing it's probably around 130 people. So this will sell out. So if you want to go and take the workshop on past lives and reincarnation, you get the access to the live class on June 26th and the full replay. Name your own price as long as you sign up on or before the 26th. But if it sells out, it sells out. So I would not take that gamble right now. That's over on the website spiritandsparks.com. Then click on the classes tab. We're going to have a lot of fun in that class. I'm looking forward to teaching it. And just another thank you to the Sacred Signals members. Thank you. There's a lot of interesting conversations happening over on our Discord community. And by being a member of Sacred Signals, whether you're a monthly or an annual member, you really do impact what I'm able to do and research and bring into the world and channel and all of that good stuff. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of my Sacred Signals members. If you're not yet a member and you're interested in diving deeper, that's also at spiritandsparks.com and click on Sacred Signals. So thank you to all my members that are here today joining this episode. All right, we got to do our drum roll and we're going to pull a winner. Let me drop my email address into the live chat. Whoever's name I pick that matches what your name is in the YouTube chat, you have until 11:59 p.m. today, which is June 10th, to email me and tell me that you are the winner, Okay, so let's do our drum roll. And today's tarot card report winner is Autumn Guild. You are the winner today. So Autumn, you have until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight, June 10th, 2025. Send me an email and claim your tarot report. Super fun. Yay. Drum roll. I know, the drum roll. Got to get the drum roll right. Yeah. So next week I will have a different background, or I should. I should have a different background. Scott will be back again next week. Yeah. So let's just keep taking some deep breaths. We're going to get through this and we will dissect it all next week again. And if you're in Sacred Signals, we'll dissect it more this week with the astrology and with the production show. And yeah. Whew, I think we need a big collective deep breath together. So if you want to join me, we're going to breathe in through the nose and out of the mouth. Deep and long. Let's go for it. In through the nose. Let it out of the mouth. Let's do another one. And out. Let it all out. Do one more big one. Let it all go. All right, everybody. I'm sending you so much love. And to learn more about my work, go over to spiritandsparks.com. And I'll see you next Tuesday, if not before then. And have an amazing rest of your day. All right.